Yeah, hello all. Welcome to the programmers.io internship program. So we can just wait for 2 minutes more if people join. After that, we will start our session. Okay, so I think we can start. So once more, welcome to the PIO internship program. So firstly, I can introduce myself. Hello all. My name is Yogesh Jaman, and I am working in programmers.io from the last 4 year. So today we are going to discuss about the SQL and SQL store procedure and some catalog tables. Those are important for the stored procedure. So this is our today agenda. Firstly, we will discuss about the SQL DDL table, how we can create a table in SQL. Then after that, we will see how we can create a CTE. This is a common table expression. Then we will see SQL index. After SQL index, we will see how we can create a store procedure, then types of store procedure, how define a store procedure, then some important keyword that used in store procedure. Then I will show you example of store procedure. After that, I will show you how we can compile and execute a store procedure. Then we will see some catalogs files. Those are important for the store procedure. At the end, we will see the advantage of a stored procedure. So let's go. Okay. So this is a example of table. This is a SQL table. Firstly, we will see how we can create a SQL table. So here you can see I have a keyword that I can use to create a table, that is create table. Then I have provided a long name of a table. So you can see this is a more than 10 character. On the IBM we can create an object for the like 10 character only, but this is a long name. You can create a table with the long name also. Now I have a in the table, I have include the system name also. So it's EMS101T. So this will be my object name, and it's less than or maybe equal to 10. Okay. Now here I have some column, and column also have long name, and this is the short name of the column. And these column I have defined, like the first is the decimal that have fourth length, and the second is the character that length is 30. Now I have allowed not null. and default value for the decimal is 0, and default value for the character is blank. Here, maybe this is a new thing for you and it's not mandatory in the table, but we will recommend you always you should include that. This is the CDC columns that what will do, it will store some detail. What detail? The record is created by a user. So it will store the create user detail, then the time, the job, and if a user modify the record, then it will store the detail, change user, and on which time the record is updated. So it will store change time. Here I have a primary key. So now the same thing I have given here. My table contain long name, that is I have highlighted on the first line. Object name, that is I have highlighted on the second line. Columns long name and column short name. So this is, you can see I have column long name and this is the short name of the column. Now the CDC columns are the recommendation. If you will not include that, so there is no error, but this is a recommendation. You should include that in your table so you can store some good data. After that, I have created a primary key in my table. Always like your table should have a primary key. By that you can identify your records uniquely. And if you want to use that this table in your RPG program, so I have included the record format here. So this is my record format that I can use in my RPG programs. And here I have like given the label on the table. So this is a like my table name, and this will be a label. And after that, I have defined the labels on the column also. Okay, so this is my table, and here I have column, and I have defined the text for those column. So all tables should have a primary key. It's a recommendation, record format. If like you want to use that table on a RPG program, we should have label on the table. That will be description for the table and the column heading. Again, like this is not mandatory thing, but it's a recommendation because it will like have a good feel and look for your table. By the text, you can understand the actual purpose of the column. So this was related to the table, how you can create a table. Now we will see the CTC. So what is CTC in DB2? So CT is a common table expression, is like a temporary view. If you have seen the view in a SQL, so this is a temporary view. If you have not seen like how we can create a view or what is view, so we will cover that in the next session. We have a separate topic for the SQL view. For now, this is a temporary view that is defined and used for the duration of a SQL statement. Means it can execute like when you write the your SQL statement, it will like erase from the memory. I will show you with the example also. You can define a common table expression whenever you can have a full select statement. So I have attached a diagram here. What I have attached here, so this is my select part 1 and this is my select part 2. And here I have created a temporary view. So what is that? I will show you in the next slide. So this is an example of a CTE. Here you can see I have given a name for that CTE, that is data1 underscore CTE. So this is my data1. What I am doing here, I am selecting library, object, object type, object attribute, description, last use date, and number of like number days used. So I have selected that data from the ITV objd, and this is a like file where the library is equal to that and the last use date is greater than current date minus 30 days. Means I am selecting the data uh, around 1 month. Okay, so here I have selected that. Now I have created a second CTE. So this is a second CTE in which I have one more query that looks same like a first query. Okay, so here I have select the same data. Now at the last part, on the third part here, you can see I have joined those two CTE and I am getting the data from the both CTE, from the both temporary like common table expression. This is a temporary thing. And when my query will execute, so these table, that temporary table will raise from the memory. So it's not a permanent storage. It's just a temporary storage that you will use and you will erase. It's a like quick dirty fix. Okay. Now the next thing is index. So index is very important in the SQL. So you can understand the index like a book. Okay. Index are used by query to find data from tables quickly. So if you want to increase the performance of your query, if you have millions of data in your table and you want a good performance for your query, you should create an index. Index are created on the table and views. We can create an index on table and views. Index on a table or view is very similar to an index that we find in a book. It's very similar. That's why we have a same name, index on the book and SQL index. If you do not have an index and we ask you to locate a specific chapter in the book, if you have a thousand and around 2000 page book and I told you you need to find a chapter and I will not provide you an index at the starting of the book, how you will find that? You will turn the page one by one. Okay, and you will find that like you will take time to find a specific chapter. You will have to look every page starting from the first page of the book. Okay. On the other hand, if you have the index, you look up the page number of the chapter in the index and directly go to that page number to locate the chapter. Now, if I will provide you an index, maybe at the first time you will not find the specific chapter, but you can understand by the page number. Okay. Now, the suppose fifth chapter is available on this page number, sixth chapter is available on this page number. So by the page number, you can find that quickly compared to if I will not provide the index. In similar way, table and view index can help the query to find the data quickly. So in the book, how we have index? We have index on the chapter wise. Like first chapter is present on this page number, second chapter is present on this page number. Like that, we have all the index for the chapter wise. In the SQL, you can create an index on any row. Suppose you have a table that is order table, you can create an index on the order date, like on the delivery date, on the any field, order ID, whatever you want. Okay. So you can find a chapter by the page number. If you have created a index on the order date, so directly you can jump on that specific order date by the helping of SQL index. In fact, existence of a right index can improve the performance of the query. If there is no index to help the query, then the query engine checks every row in the table from the beginning to the end. This is a table scan. Table scan is bad for performance. If you have not index on your table, then your query will scan each record, every record. And suppose you have lots of data, millions of and billions of record. So you are scanning every record. Okay. So you can do a better performance. You can increase your query performance just using and just creating a simple index on your table. Now, this is an example how you can create a SQL index. To create a table, we use create table. Same thing. If you want to create an index, you need to use create index. You need to give an index name. Here, I have given the index name EMI 095I1 on the table OMS 094T. This is my table name on which like column I want to create. So I want to create on user ID. So this index will create based on the user ID. So this is my label. Same thing like you, the labeling, the description you was providing on the table, you can provide that on the index also. Advantage of a SQL index, faster query performance, index speed up the retrieval of row, by creating a quick lookup mechanism. This is a particularly beneficial for selecting query, where clause, join operation, and sorting result with order by. So now if you have created an index on the user ID and you are using where condition on the user ID, if you are joining two queries based on the user ID, if you have order by based on the user ID, so your like query will have a good performance. But we have disadvantage also, because we are creating a separate index that is separate from the table. So of course it will increase a disk space, it will occupy your memory. Okay, but now in today world, space is not costly more than time. Okay, in today world, time is more costly compared to the space. Okay, and it's slower data modification also, because now suppose you have a book and in which you already define the chapter, and I am inserting or updating or deleting a chapter from the book. So you need to modify the index also. Okay, but if you do not have index, then you are inserting or deleting or updating the record or the pages in the book. So you do not need to modify your index because you do not have index. But same thing we have in the SQL also. If you are deleting, updating, or inserting a record in the table, so your index will also like take time, like your index will also modify. But if you have created index properly, okay, and you like it can save your time if you know how to create a perfect index. Okay, so it will save your more time. Okay, so this was related to the index, SQL index. Then the next thing is, what is stored procedure? So a store procedure is a prepared SQL code that you can save in your system, or it's a group of SQL statements that accept some input parameter, perform some task, and may or may not return a value as a output parameter or result. So what is stored procedure? Stored procedure is nothing. It's just one source of your SQL code. Suppose you have a program in which you have defined a SQL statement, select star from order table. You have used that on 50 places in your program. So what you can do, you can create a separate source, separate program for that stored procedure for that SQL code. Or on the 50 places, you will just call that stored procedure like a function. Okay, you will call just a store procedure. And the beauty of a store procedure is that it can take some parameter as an input parameter, or it may or may not return a value. Suppose you are just doing a update operation, so you do not need to return any value. But if you are doing a select operation and you want the output as a result, so you need to return a result set or some output parameter. Okay, so what is stored procedure? Stored procedure is nothing, it's just an object of SQL code. We have two type of stored procedure. What is first? SQL stored procedure, the written entirely in SQL, including SQL procedure language like SQL PL statement. And the second is external stored procedure. External stored procedure can be any supported high level language program written in host language like C, COBOL, Java, Python, PHP, any language, any high level language, and can include SQL statement, or it can include SQL statement also. External store procedure means by the external store procedure, you can call a Java program, you can call a PHP program, you can call a C program, you can call a Python program, means a high level language program, just by a external store procedure. How to define a stored procedure? So to define a table, we use create table. To define an index, we use create index. To define a store procedure, we use create procedure. Now here I have included the replace also, that you should not include with the table, because if you will directly compile your table, it will replace the previous object. And if you have missed the previous object, then the data is also missed from the table. Okay, but the procedure do not contain the data. So that's why if anyone recompile that and store procedure is already existing in your system, so it will replace the previous one and create the new. Here you can give a store procedure name like after the table you can give a table name. So here you can give a store procedure name, and this is some input parameter. You can like receive more parameter as you want. You can receive 20 parameter, 30 parameter. You can return 30 parameter, 20 parameter. Here I am receiving one input parameter. I am returning one output parameter. And if you want in out by one variable only, so you can use this also in out. So parameter in SP, in to receive a value, out to send a value, and in out for both purpose to receive as well as send the value. Now focus here how I am creating a stored procedure. So create or replace procedure. This is a real example. Here I have provided the procedure name. So you can see this is a long name of the procedure. Okay. And this is one input parameter. After some calculation, I will return one output parameter, and this is in out parameter. I will return that also because this is in out. I can return those parameter also, and I can receive the value in those parameter also. But in a specific example, I will return that. Okay. What is that? SQL status, message ID, SQL underscore message text. Just remember those thing, those name, because on the next slide we will discuss that. SQL status, message ID, message text, we will see the purpose of those parameter. Now, this is a SQL store procedure, not a external store procedure. Okay. So here the language is SQL. Program type sub. So this is an important keyword. It's not mandatory. Okay. But we will recommend you to use that word because if you will create that store procedure, so object will create as a service program, not a normal program. And service program work faster compared to a normal PGM. Why? Because a service program contains a microcode. Okay. So if you want to read like how service program work faster compared to the normal program, you can go officially on IBM website. There is lots of content for that. Now, uh, if I want to create an object, okay, and I want to provide a object name, a specific object name, so I need to provide these name. Now when I will compile this procedure, so this procedure object name will be like that. Okay. If I will not provide that name, a specific name, so my system will pick a random name that will be some combination of character and some uh, numbers. Okay. So I want that the program or the store procedure should use those name only and this name only. Okay. So I have defined that here, and I am returning one dynamic result set from here. So what is that? So the same important keyword in a store procedure, specific keyword. Specific keyword means I have used a specific keyword here, means object name will pick like that. And program type sub means it will create a object as a service program. Language SQL means this is a SQL store procedure. Now, in the stored procedure source, you can define those compiler option also. If you have created a RPGLE program, so if you want to debug that, you need to compile your RPG program as a source type, but you can define that even in the source you can write that. So whenever you are going to compile a object, always you do not need to define star source again and again. Why? Because you have already defined that in the source, so it will pick that from the source only. And date format will be ISO. These two parameter is for security purpose. This is also good parameter that's used for security. And commit equal to star none. So these are the compiler option that you can define in the stored procedure source, but it's not mandatory. Why? Because I am saving your time. Whenever you are going to compile your object or your stored procedure, you do not need to provide that parameter manually. Just define that once, always use that. So this is the actual beginning of the code in the store procedure. Previously, we have just used create statement, we receive parameter. Now, this is the beginning of the store procedure, means the logic start, the business logic start from here. So after the beginning, I have declared some param or variable, and you can see this is a type of the variable and this is the length of the variable. Now I have defined a cursor that is C1 to select the employee ID and employee name from the employee table. I am selecting those data. Now I told you, just remember three parameter: message ID, message text, and status. I, I am returning those parameter. What is the use of those parameter? Those parameter I have store the error. If suppose you are calling that stored procedure from a website, you can directly call a stored procedure from a PHP or Java language. Okay, if your website backend is created on the Node.js or PHP or Java, so from directly you can call a stored procedure, and this stored procedure is exist on my IBM I system. Okay, now how a website know what error I got? So what I am doing here, I am getting the error, I'm storing that error or message ID in these variable. And at the starting, I show you am returning and I am using those variable as an output parameter. So when a Java or PHP language will call that stored procedure, and if I got any issue, I will return that to that application. So that's why I have used the error handling here. And this is an important thing, not mandatory, but it's a good thing. Okay. Now, after creating a cursor, I have just used OpenC1. Then I have set the result and I am returning the result of that cursor. And this is end of my stored procedure. First stored procedure is completed, SQL stored procedure. Then the next thing is external stored procedure. What is external store procedure? From an external store procedure, we can call a Java program, PHP program, or a C program. I have shown you example of a RPGA program. So you can call a store procedure, uh, and this store procedure will call a RPG program. So this is my store procedure that is receiving one parameter. Language is RPGLE, not SQL. Program type sub, specific name, and the external name. What is that external name? This is my RPGLE program name. And this is the source of that RPGLE program. Here I am receiving one parameter in a RPGLE program that I will receive in this store procedure. Okay, employee ID. Same thing I am receiving in this RPGLE program. It will do a chain operation, means the record. If suppose I pass the employee ID 101, it will try to find the record 101 and it will display the employee name that have ID 101 on the backend side, because I'm just using the display opcode. So this is display opcode in exist on the backend side. Okay, so it will display the name. Now, how you can create or compile a store procedure? We have just defined the source. We have just done the source thing. How you can compile that? Firstly, always whenever you are going to compile a SQL source, firstly set your library as a current library. Okay. Why I am saying that, I will tell you. Now, by the run SQL statement, you can compile your SQL source. So to compile a store procedure, these parameter I have defined in the source only. So whenever you are going to compile a store procedure, so if you have given these parameter in the source, dynamic user profile, debug view, commit, user profile, so you do not need to give here. But if you have not given in the source, so you can do that. Every time you need to give that. So if you do not want to repeat yourself, just define that in the source. Okay. So if you will not set your library as a current library and you want to create that object on a specific library, so you can give that library name in the default collection. So this is one parameter. You can see that in the run SQL STM command. And here I am passing my library name. Why German is my library. So here I am passing the library name. Now we have compiled the store procedure. So just we need to use that. How you can call a store procedure? Like you call a program. So here you can see call statement. This is my processor long name. This is input parameter, and this is variable. Okay, this is some variable in which I will store their error if I got any error in the business logic. This is, I can call that from the STRSQL. Means if you will use STRSQL, you got a screen in which you can use a command or some query, SQL statement, I should say. In the STRSQL screen, you can use SQL statement. So you can call that store procedure from there. And this I will show you like in after that, I will show you practically also. So you can call that from the ACS also. So how you can call that? So here you can see I'm using same thing, call, and here I am not using variable because ACS, if I got any error, ACS will directly show the error. Okay. So here I am passing 102 and I got the employee record. I will show you that. Okay. After that. And this is how you can call a store procedure from a RPGLE program. So you can call that store procedure from the RPGLE program. You can call that store procedure from a PHP program. So I have attached a PHP code for your reference. So this is, I am creating a statement, SQL statement, call store procedure name, and these are the parameter that I will provide dynamically. And I am preparing that statement. I am setting the connection, and here this is my parameter list. So first question mark I will replace with the ID, second with the name, address, salary, department, then SQL status, message ID, text. Okay, I have replaced all the question mark from those parameter. Okay, now what I am doing here, I am just executing that statement, and I will got the result in this variable. And what I am doing here, I am converting that result that I got in a JSON format on a PHP site. Okay, so this is a like how you can call directly a store processor from a PHP thing. Okay, from a PHP language, you can call that from a Node.js and like Java. Just syntax will change. Okay, but you can call. So now we have just used that store processor. We have called that from a different side. Then this is the important files that we call catalog related to the store procedure. If you want to see the detail related to the store procedure, we have sysproc table. That is already a system defined table. This is already exists in your system, exists in this library qsys2. So here I am using a select query from qsys2 sysproc, where a specific name I have provided the specific name here, and I got the result. Okay, now this is query will give me the detail related to the procedure, means who created that, when created that, what is the type, SQL, external name, or all the detail related to the procedure only. If you want to see the detail related to the parameter, you have sysparams. Okay, now sysparam exists in qsys2, and I have provided the specific name. So this will give me the result related to the parameter. What is input parameter? Like how many input parameter? In output parameter, all detail it will show me related to the parameter only. Then advantage of a store processor. Reusability, of course, if you are writing a, that I have explained, if you are writing a SQL query on the 50 places, like a function, okay, so just define once and use multiple time. Okay, query auto parameterization means in the SQL query in the business logic, you can receive some parameter, and by that parameter, you can get some data from a store processor. Like we are receiving a employee ID, and we are sending the record from that employee ID only, not for all. So we are receiving one parameter. Better performance, encapsulation of business rules and policies means an store procedure. I can use some if conditions also. Okay, that will be like big thing that I have not attached here, but you can find that we can use if conditions also in a store procedure. And this will be a business logic, means all business logic you can return, and it will be encapsulate, mean like a capsule, we will encapsulate that on a single object only. All the thing we are like combining on a single object. Application modelization, the latest functionality, like all the website are using those thing. Okay, this is a modernization thing. We are not using the query directly on the website. I will show you the advantage of that via diagram on the next slide. Okay, share of application logic between the applications. So you can see I have defined a store processor from a on IBM system, but I can call that from a PHP, Java, Node.js. So if I have 3 4 system that is written in a different high language, so I can call a single store processor from those all the languages. Access to the database object, like both secure and uniform. How it will secure? Because the store processor is defined on the IBM system with IBM security, and you are not using query directly on the website. You are using that query in a store processor, and store processor exists on the IBM side. Consistent safe data modification. This is an important slide that you need to understand. A store processor is a group of SQL query. Then why we use store processor? So if you have a SQL query that you write repeatedly, save it as a store processor, then just call it to execute. Now understand that example, why it's secure and why we should use that. So this is our application layer, and this is a web backend thing, backend technology, Java and PHP written, like this is a Java PHP code that is calling the store processor. You can call a UDF also, user defined function. User defined function you will see in the next session how we can create that, what is that. But now focus on the store processor only. So we can call a store processor from a Java application, from a PHP application. What people use? People are using embedded SQL query. What is embedded SQL query? People are using the query directly on the Java application and PHP application. Means if they want to use update, delete, or select, they are just using here only. But what we want? We want a define a store processor that will exist on IBM system and use the select, update, delete statements on that store processor only, and these store processor will do the CURD operation on your table. Okay, and what Java application, PHP application will do, they will just call that store processor, because now we have our IBM security with our store processor. Okay, so this is a major advantage to use a store processor. Now I need to stop my screen for a minute, and I need to share the practical knowledge with you. So just give me a second. Okay, so this is my SQL table. Okay, so here I have defined that. So this is my banner. Here you can see create table. This is long name. This is a short name. This is my columns, long name, column, short name, and here the CDC columns, those will use for like who created that record, time, job, user who changed that, and the change time. And this is primary key and the record format. If you want to use a RPG program and RPG program want to use that table, so use the record format. And this is a label. On this label, like I have on that table, this is a long name of the table. This is a long name of the table, and here I have a column name, create user ID, employee name, and this is a description of the column. And if like here you are providing the system name, short name, so I will copy that and I will check the object. Firstly, I can set my library as a current library. So you can see the table exists here. Okay, and it's created by me. Okay, so this is a system name. Now I will show you store procedure also. So this is my store procedure. This is my banner, and store procedure will have that specific name and this thing, like there is my store procedure. So this is a long name. I am receiving one parameter. I am returning those three parameter because this will handle the error. Okay. And this is a SQL store procedure. It will create an object by that name. Okay, I will show you that also. And always, like, I will recommend you always what you need to do. You need to give the source name. If you will see this name, and yeah, I have pasted here. This name and this name is same. So always give the specific name same as the source name. Okay, so you will remember what you have given. Okay, so you can see here program type sub. This will create your object as a service program. I will show you. And here is my compiler option. Okay, so this is my compiler option, and this is my query. This is my SQL query where, like, I have given the parameter v underscore id. Here I have defined the v underscore id as input parameter. So I will receive the employee id and I will select the data based on the employee id. Okay, and this is for the error handling. Those three parameter I am returning as a output, and I have opened that cursor and set the result and return that to the calling program. Now I will show you like how this object. Okay, so you can see if you will not provide a specific name, so your like store procedure object will be created by a random name that will, like, you will not know. Okay, so and the object also you can focus, this is a service program. If you will not write program type sub, so this will create as a PGM only, not service program. And I am again saying service program work faster compared to the uh, normal PGM. Okay, so this is how I have created a store processor. Now I can show you how I can execute, but I think I have not shared that screen. So just give me a second again. Sorry for that interruption, but I can show that also. So it will be like better for you. Okay. So this is my, yeah. So here, like, firstly, I am adding my library on the top of the library list. Okay. So I can execute the CL command also. I am showing one more thing to you. This is my ACS. Okay, how you can got that? So you just need to select the run SQL script from your green screen menus. Okay, so on that I can execute the CL command. So I am executing that. This will be my top of the library list. Okay, I need to set the reconnection. It will take a second to connect to the system. Here you can see this is connecting. Yeah, it's connected. So I will add the library. Library is added to the library list. You can see the message here. Now I will execute this store procedure. I am providing one input parameter, and based on that input parameter, I got the record. Okay. So this is how you can got the record, like how you can call a store procedure. And I have shown you in the PPT. I have attached the PHP example also. So this was related to that. And now, like, if you have uh, any questions, so you can ask. Yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone have any questions, so you can put in the Q&A box so that you guys can answer all of your doubts.
Yep. Yeah. I think if no one have, okay,
One question is
one
there.
have. Can you please show us how you navigate to run SQL script ACS? Yeah. Of course, I can show you. Ayush, please acknowledge me when my screen will be visible, the green screen.
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So here on the action, just what you need to do, you need to click on the action, and here you can see run SQL script. So you need to click on that option and you will got the ACS. Okay. View is a different thing that we will cover on the next session. Okay, what is view? But for the index, you can understand it's used to optimize your query and to perform like a better performance for your query. Okay, so view you will see later on the next session, so it will be clear for you.
I believe they got his all answers, so I need to share the important information to the all the participants. Yogesh, if you have nothing to, you can leave.
Okay, yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah, yeah. Hi everyone. So I have shared the case study assignment link in the chat box, so you all can go through it, and if you have any queries, so in upcoming clinical session we have conducting, so you can ask all your doubts related to that case study assignment. Apart from this, you all can go through it and understand the how you can start the development, and that all information will be in that documents, like how you design the screens, and what are all the necessary database and the physical files required. So you can go through it, and if you have any doubts, so you can come into the clinical session, so we all are our team will happy to assist with that or your queries. And based on this, the case study assignment, whatever you have assigned, so you can mainly focus on that case study assignment, because based on their submission, and based on their submission, you all we have selected some student for their interviews, and the submission of that case study will be basis on first come and first serve. So whoever is completed early this case study, they will be selected for interviews. So try to complete the case study, as soon as possible. And if you have completed 70 to 80%, that is also fine. So yeah, if anyone have any doubts, so you can put in the Q&A box or in chat box related to the case study assignment. So where to submit the case study? So as such, there is no link to submit. You know, to some to completion of the case study, you have a time to submit it. So until and unless if there is no such, we have shared the link in the upcoming session. So currently you are go through it and understand the you can start the development for it. So we can share the link in the upcoming session. Don't worry about it. Apart from this, if anyone have questions. If done early, where to submit? We can provide in the upcoming session, on Wednesday, maybe. And it's important, what I said, like you have to complete it on first come and first serve basis, because we select the students based on the completion of the case study. So try to complete it as possible. as soon as possible. Don't worry, we will share the link of the submission in the upcoming session. Anyone have any doubt? Okay, I will wait 2 more minutes. After that, I will wind up this session. Okay, I believe there is no question. So yeah, guys, that's all. You guys start working on the case study, and if you feel any queries or doubts, so you can ping. We have a Skype group, so you can ping there. Our team will happy to assist you there, and yeah, that's all. Thanks everyone.